Global goals for noble souls, transforming our world to a better wonder to behold. No poverty, zero hunger, for the elderly or younger. Good health and well-being, good education, empowering women to become sensation. Clean water and sanitation, is it not the right of every nation? Economic growth, inclusive and sustained, through industry, innovation and infrastructure be gained. Reduce inequality for sure, make cities and human settlements safe and secure. Take urgent actions to combat climate change, conserve like below water, land, ensure we do not estrange. Justice for all, oh peaceful and empathetic nations. Let us all partner to achieve these goals and provide much needed salvation.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining. A very good morning, good evening, namaste, hola, bonjour, kirimet, terve, and marapan. This is Namya Joshi, your host for the day. Welcome to episode 127 of the podcast Each One Teach 10, an amazing world of STEM, an inspiring venture where we'll be discussing that STEM is a part of every day for every kid. We will learn together how to build a STEM culture. Well, today, cybersecurity isn't just about passwords and firewalls anymore. It shapes economies, governments, education, healthcare, even the way we trust each other online. But what happens when the systems we depend on become vulnerable? And are we truly prepared for a world where digital threats evolve faster than human behavior? Well, joining me today is Erno Vienonen, the Senior Lecturer in Information Technology at JAMK University of Applied Sciences in Finland, with a strong background in ICT, telecommunications, and cybersecurity. He combines technical expertise with business insight, having led international teams and development projects with members across Europe and Asia. His work is focused on process automation, lean practices, and secure ICT infrastructures, fulfilling business requirement and risk analysis. His research interests include scalable, business aligned digital solutions that support innovation and resilience in cybersecurity and cloud environments. Well, today, together, we're going to explore not just the technical side of cybersecurity, but the human, ethical, and societal side as well. It's an honor to have you here today, Erno. So, mitä kuuluu?
Hyvä kuuluu. And I'm really glad to be here and really glad that you invited me to be and discuss this, in my opinion, really important matter.
Absolutely, it's an honor for me as well. Kiitos paljon. Well, most people don't realize how deeply cybersecurity is woven into everyday life unless there is like a disruption somewhere. So, if hypothetically cybersecurity disappeared tomorrow, what do you think would start breaking first?
It's a really interesting question since actually you might think that if cybersecurity would not exist at all, then all kind of attackers or hackers or anybody can actually access to all kind of system. But probably it's not about that because there is a lot of connections and interdependencies and all kind of different systems. They are dependent on each other, and they are dependent on how much they trust to those dependent systems. So if that trust is taken away, obviously when the cybersecurity is missing in that scenario, then systems probably will be starting to shut down themselves. And probably something like financial services, banks, ATMs, for example, they will be shut down pretty soon if they realize that there is no encryption services available. So that means that it's not hackers what are doing the harm in these scenarios. Another example can be energy sector. There is a lot of really high-level technical sensors in windmills or anywhere, let's say nuclear power plants, etc. If there's no trust that they are correct, only thing what these companies can do, they have to shut down everything. And that will disrupt pretty soon, half a day, couple of hours, and it will be affecting society as such. Healthcare, whatever is internet-based services, cloud services, obviously they are very vulnerable if there's no cybersecurity in sudden explosion or whatever that might be, that it's broken. So it really is. You might not think about that way, but it's really important part of the trustworthy services what we are every day using in our society. That's a pretty interesting scenario, actually.
I would agree as well. And I really think what really stands out from what you're saying is that the real issue isn't some dramatic wave of hackers suddenly taking over everything. It is actually the collapse of trust between systems. And the way you describe it, so much of our infrastructure partly depends on systems trusting each other to function. And the moment that trust disappears, they don't get hacked, they just get to stop totally. Whether, like you
Exactly.
mentioned, banks, ATMs, energy systems, because they depend on the sensors if those can't be trusted, or healthcare services because they are vulnerable due to cloud dependencies. That creates the cascading effect where society gets disrupted not just by the attacks but by systems that totally refuse to
Yeah,
cooperate and operate themselves.
exactly.
That is
Of course, there will
unfortunate.
be attacks later, but
True.
not the first phase, I would say.
That's true because like attacks will happen if the certain systems that still continue to function if they do.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty interesting approach and very, I think, ethical way to think about what things we can take care of if cybersecurity would not exist. But again, it's a hypothetical scenario and hopefully doesn't happen someday.
Exactly.
Right. So when people say things like, I'm careful online, or that would never happen to me, do you think we sometimes misunderstand what being truly safe online actually means?
Yeah, there is a saying that at least I'm not sure if it's nowadays, but they were saying that, okay, I have antivirus in my laptop, I'm safe, I can do basically everything. But that's obviously not the case. It's not any kind of tool. It's not any kind of thing you can actually buy being safe online. That's not it. You have to make sure that you also behave and understand what kind of threats there are. You have to be aware of the threats, what they are. So maybe the common misconception is that it's basically up to you if you are safe online. You cannot depend too much of any tools. Of course, they are helping there. They are preventing parts of the threats. It might be, for example, having malware in certain certain file you want to download or upload somewhere. But that's only one part. It's one tiny part of the whole scenario where there are so many threats online. Social engineering, for example. How can technical solution prevent you from that? I'm not sure. Yeah, and then all kind of phishing emails. You can scam them. You can have them categorized as a scam or anything. But ultimately, it's your decisions what you do online. You have to be aware. And unless you're not aware, you cannot be safe. There's again that trust. How much do you trust that online system or online pages or anything what you are trying to reach, what you are trying to get from there? Do you trust? Is that trustworthy page or web page or anything? So there's a lot to think about on that side as well.
Absolutely. What I find really interesting in what you're saying is the gap between perceived safety and the actual awareness people have. Because a lot of people have an equate of maybe thinking that antivirus or some security tool is basically fully protecting you. But as you pointed out, that's just part of the picture. Tools can flag phishing emails or filter out obvious scams. But of course, I don't think they can truly replace the human judgment because it ultimately comes down to how we interpret and act on what we see. If someone isn't fully aware of the kind of threats that exist today or how they evolve themselves, even the best tools cannot protect them. So, in a way, being safe online isn't about the protection itself, like you said. It's, of course, understanding, being aware, and again comes to the trust because that's where the trust is being tested, that can you trust it truly, or but again you cannot trust it truly in any way.
Yeah, of course there are tools that can give you some trust, like very good authentication mechanism, not password but multi-factor, etc. So that will give you extra trust for that part, being more safe. You have encrypted web pages so that the traffic is encrypted. That will give you extra security online. But that's just part. You can still click if you don't know what you are doing there.
Oh yeah, that is true. Absolutely. So when a major data breach happens, conversations usually turn into a blame game very quickly. So, from your perspective, where does the accountability really sit? With developers, companies, leadership, or the system itself is flawed from the beginning?
That's actually quite clear. For example, as we have in European Union, we have this GDPR data protection regulation. It is really explicitly said that company leadership is accountable if there's some data leak or data breach, and they cannot delegate that responsibility. Of course, or I would say accountability. Then, of course, there are developers. They are coding. They are doing the setup. They are responsibility on their work, what they have done. Systems, if that's a third party provided system, you are buying some ERP or some logistics system, so that provider has responsibility on that part. But if some company or organization is buying that product and there is a data breach based on some vulnerability on that specific product, and they lost, for example, their customer data or some customer even personal data, credit card information or social security numbers or so. It's not the system's fault at all. Of course, that's the problem, but the accountability, it's really clear that it is always the company who use that specific system. So in that sense, this is really important actually, the organizations or companies, the leadership has to be aware what is their accountability and responsibility in these setups. They cannot blame anyone. And there might be situations that the leadership or board members, they don't understand what they are actually responsible for. And it might be interesting if one is doing that kind of work and there's no knowledge enough what does that actually mean. It can mean if there's a breach and you get a fine from breaching the regulation, it can be millions of euros or dollars, how much they have to pay for fine. That doesn't take into account the financial or reputational damages, what might happen. So it's pretty much the business that is having problems if there's a breach. So yeah, very good question.
Oh, of course. What I find really interesting and important that you're highlighting accountability isn't as scattered as people often assume, because it's becoming quite clear when you look at the frameworks like GDPR. In that context, the ultimate responsibility sits with organization and its leadership, and they can't just deflect blame when a breach happens. At the same time, of course, there are layers to it. Developers, like you said, they are responsible for code that they write. Third party providers have their own role as well. But if something goes wrong, especially when external systems are involved, the accountability still comes back to the organizations that they chose to use those systems for. So it's less about pointing fingers and more about recognizing that leadership needs to be fully aware and intentional about the systems and the risks that they're taking on from the start. And yes, again, a very important topic to discuss upon, and really happy that you highlighted all those points as well.
It's not always what people think when thinking on the data breaches or data leaks, what might happen. And this can be really personal as well. For example, if there's those social media platforms, there has been leaks and there might be leaks. It will go down really personal level if you are one of the information holder or victim, I would say. And then who will give the compensation for you? That's not easy.
Yes, and I also recently read a news about end-to-end encryption being removed from Meta starting yesterday, which is again privacy breach for all the users. And that is again not the ethical way of getting information to train AI models.
Exactly.
Yes. Right. So when we think about the term ethical hacking, that sounds very straightforward on paper. But in reality, do you think there are gray areas that people outside the industry don't fully see or talk about enough?
Yeah, ethical hacking. I think it's when they think about the definition, what does it actually mean? There are a couple of things what has to be fulfilled. First, of course, it has to be, you have to have the permission to do something. That's really important. If you are doing something which you don't have consent from the target, it's not a victim, it's a target in this scenario. If you don't have a consent, that's a gray area, even though the intent of doing that. For example, some network scanning. If the intent is good and you are thinking that you will reveal all information to the organization if you find anything, but if you don't have consent to do it, then it's not ethical. And another one is of course you have to have the purpose, or you have to know why you are doing this. My example, network scanning, it's obviously you are doing it because you want to find any open ports in their systems or firewalls if there's a vulnerabilities in that sense. So you want to find those. But if you don't have, you just do and try something and try to find any good indicators of some problem areas in the company network or so. You don't have specific purpose on that. You need to beforehand know what you are doing. And third one is probably what to do when you find something. If you find really a vulnerability in some company, even though you have consent and you know what you are doing, and you find something problematic in security perspective, what do you want to do with that information? If you are giving that directly on public, that's not really wise, because of course the attackers can use that same information right away. You need to be very careful how to handle that information what you gather. Who would you give that information? Who is most important to know first on that information? Another example might be that you have, using ethical hacking, you have consent, you know what you do, you want to have some information on what kind of data might be available in the company file server or anything like that. So you, instead of downloading some samples, just proving that you can do it, you download whole file. But you don't need that actually. You just need to have a proof that you actually got an access to that file. You don't need to download it fully. And there is another gray area. If you use that access and download everything, what would you do for that whole file if it's an ethical way of doing it? You have to prove the company that, okay, I got an access and this is the proof. I have a couple of samples here that I have an access there. But if you download everything, that's not ethical anymore. So there is a those kind of gray areas in that scenario as well. Sorry, my dog is barking.
That's all right. Imitan. Yo, so again, like, it's all about how much ethical hacking depends on boundaries that aren't always visible from outside. It sounds very simple in theory, but in practice, everything starts with, like you mentioned, clear permission, because without consent, even good intentions can fall very quickly into gray area. And even when you have the authorization and you know you have like the permission, the responsibility does not just stop there. It's also about thinking of what you do with the vulnerabilities you discover. How do you handle that information? Who do you share it with? And whether you avoid exposing systems in ways that could cause harm. So again, it's not about finding weaknesses, it's about acting with a strong sense of purpose and getting restrained once you do. Yes, again, a very important topic to talk about. I think cybersecurity in itself is like a topic where we need a lot of attention coming towards. And that takes me to my next question as well. That when we think about warfare, most people still imagine something physical. But today, a cyber attack can impact hospitals, banks, transport, even elections. So, do you think we're moving into an era where cyber warfare becomes more powerful than traditional warfare?
That's a that's a tricky question, and I had to think this quite many levels actually, because of course there is a when you're thinking about some kind of conflict where this could be used, you might have the non-violent, let's say hybrid type of war, where someone is just trying to disturb society, or trying to get some problems for everyday life for citizens. So their cyber attacks are really effective. As you mentioned, energy sector, if there's a way to shut down energy or power plants, financial side, health sector, all that will disturb citizen everyday life, and it will give some problems, and it's up to own individual resilience what they actually can do, how they can be survive in that scenario. But that conflict is very limited. It's just it's not unimportant. It's really hard for the affected persons. But for the country perspective, for example, there is nobody is invading you, and for that physical warfare is needed if someone really wants to invade other country or so. So it's there's limitations. It will deepen the problematic area in if you are using at the same time cyber security, but only cyber warfare, security related warfare. It's not. It's just annoying, I would say. It causes damage, yes, but what then?
Yeah.
What's that? Basically.
And it has, like, of course, both warfares have their own effects, but I think it leaves a deeper mark as well, because um, getting it back on track will take a lot of time.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I find your perspective quite compelling because the idea of cyber warfare is not necessarily replacing traditional warfare, but it's evolving, like you mentioned, to something more hybrid. It's less about the physical invasion, but more about disrupting the everyday systems people rely on: energy, healthcare, finance, essentially creating instability within the society itself. And as you pointed out, the kind of disruption hits the individuals very directly. And again, it's depending, like you said, on their ability to cope up and adapt in those situations. At the same time, rightly said, there are limits because it doesn't really occupy territory in traditional sense. But even without that, the impact on daily life can be deeply unsettling, which makes this form of conflict both very subtle but very personal at the same time.
Exactly.
Yes. Right. So, how about we try to make the environment a little calmer and ask you, what is your favorite city in Suomi?
That's a tricky. I work in Jyväskylä. It's pretty city in middle of Finland, surrounded by lakes. You can go outside hiking really near. Not that big city, but it's really nice, at least in the summertime, as all Finnish cities. On the other hand, I do like Helsinki. It's lively and it has a lot of interesting places and places to visit, museums, landscape, coastal area. I really enjoy walking around there. So I would choose Jyväskylä, Helsinki.
Great.
I would say Helsinki. that's
Okay,
that's a,
hyvä.
that's a
Tosi hyvä.
pretty.
For me, I would say both Jyväskylä and Annekoski, because like that was the place I visited when I came here in 2019 for the first time. It's a pretty small town, but very beautiful. I like the lakes as well. And of course, I think Jyväskylä, because I've been here like a couple of times, but living here for almost 9 months now, got to explore a lot of places. But Helsinki is on my bucket list, so probably getting to explore that with my mom if she comes here soon, then yes. Let's see if I can also find Helsinki as my favorite city soon.
There is a lot of places to go in Helsinki, I would say.
Of course, I will surely explore. Right, so I think today's discussion has been quite interesting. And to wrap it up, if I ask you, in a world where being online is almost unavoidable, what does being a responsible digital citizen actually look like to you today?
That's a that's a interesting aspect, and I haven't actually thought that much about that. Digital citizen, the terminology means that there is a lot of information available and needed in digital format. A lot of information only online. You can access information easily, but being responsible for there, I think the main thing is that to have the critical thinking always. Again, I think I'm repeating myself, but the trust is the word for that critical thinking, and you have your own information, your personal information. That's your personal asset. What is interesting on part, and you need to be protective on your own information. You don't want to give your own information in too many places, in too untrustworthy places. You need to know what they are used for, and that's I guess one thing. Responsibility also means that, and this has been in online discussions, at least the respectful speaking, talking, and messaging to other people. You can be really anonymous and say really nasty things to other people, and you are not responsible digital citizen if you are not respecting other people. So that's probably one thing there. And to combine these, obviously need to be really aware what you are doing there, what are the possibilities to lose your personal information, how to make sure that you respect everybody online. Yeah, I guess those kind of things are really part of the being responsible digital citizen.
And I totally second with that because when you demand safe spaces, you need to be the person who creates those safe spaces, and respect and trust are all part of that. And that again, like, focuses back on the personal responsibility in a world where so much of our lives are online. And there's, of course, an overwhelming amount of information out there. And navigating isn't just about the access, it's about how we're engaging with it. So, being a responsible digital citizen, as you're describing, comes to critical thinking, being mindful of what we trust, and recognizing the fact that our actions online have real impact even in the real world. And of course, it's about contributing to safer digital spaces, not just protecting ourselves, but also being aware of how we affect others in these shared environments. Yes. Well, I think it's been a great discussion today, and thank you so much for your time to be on the podcast and share all these wonderful insights. And if I were to say wrapping up, I feel like today's discussion has reminded us of the fact that cybersecurity isn't just about protecting systems, it's about protecting the trust. And in today's world, trust is invisible infrastructure that is holding everything together. So thank you again, Edna, for your time, and hope everybody also has a lot of insights that they're taking back today.
Thank
Like
you. Thank you
one
for
of our
inviting.
comments says, use tech for good. Yep. All right. Thank you so much once again. And thank everyone for joining and listening to this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, each one teach 10. Have a nice day.